Oh wow, this is the best financial statement I've ever played. Welcome back to the channel. I watched an interview that Colin Moriarty gave with Destin Legary, and it was about the idea of purchasing versus growing organically, or taking the risk with a company, identifying talent and saying we'd like to work with you on this particular project, making a game, funding the game, funding another game, taking chance after chance, and then eventually acquiring the studio, making them sort of culturally part of the ethos of your company. So when people think of PlayStation, they think of those first-party games, versus what Microsoft is doing, essentially just taking things that are already established, all the work's already been done, all the chances have already been taken by other people, and then once those things are everywhere, games like Elder Scrolls going to every platform, or Doom, or anything else, just saying, well, now we're going to buy it and it's going to be ours, and somehow you're just supposed to relate that organic growth to us now. So for instance, Psychonauts is now an Xbox game, and you're supposed to think of Spyro or Crash Bandicoot as an Xbox game, but clearly they weren't the ones that identified the talent when the ideas were pitched for those games. They weren't the ones that funded those ideas, worked internally with those people in those studios, took those chances between 1, 2, 3, and 4 games, and then eventually made the acquisition. They're just buying them. And if that is somehow something that is hollow, and it does ring hollow for me, but on this channel, I try and look at things a little bit deeper than just maybe what I'm thinking, because I'm old, and unfortunately, you can literally just have a big ass and make $1 billion today. Literally, you don't have to contribute anything to society. You don't have to have ever done anything important with your life, or again, created something. You just have to have the biggest ass, and then you can become a celebrity and make tons and tons of money. And that's when I started to think about it, that most people, and when I say most people, I mean most people going out buying video games, or talking to their parents and saying, I want this system, I want that system, or I want this game, I want that game, or this service and that service, whatever. Most people now, unfortunately, they really just don't care. Just good enough is the new mantra. So nobody goes into the store and says, I'm interested in a new video game system. Tell me which one of these companies organically grew their software development tools and their teams, and took risks from one creative venture to another, to another, to another, and then acquired companies, versus the company that just bought everything. Nobody does that because nobody cares. And that's where I think Microsoft is trying to sort of exist in that little bubble there while they acquire everything. And I think that it's clear that they think that way, because when you look at the leaks, Phil Spencer's greatest achievement in his entire business career would be simply spending money, purchasing somebody who's done all that work, essentially taken the risks, essentially hired creative people, learned how to identify and attract people who can create great content, learned how to foster that creativity, worked with teams over years and years and years, created games one to the other to the next, and then acquired. It's already been done. Let's just purchase it. And that's where I wanted to sort of highlight this one particular point. And that's just, unfortunately, most people just don't think that way. So I don't think anybody cares at this point that there's an organic culture, there's an ethos with PlayStation that doesn't exist with Xbox. Microsoft as a company has never really created anything other than just its ability to generate cash to buy things that have already been created, or strangle out competition around something that they want, until that something has no choice but to sell to Microsoft, or simply just copy things that are out there in the market and make really, really bad copies with no really creative soul. You look at Zune, or you look at what they did with Windows Phone. It's just, this company that has an idea that instead of creating, we can simply purchase after all the creation is done. And somehow that goodwill, those consumers that have stayed with those brands or those companies, or people who, for instance, loved Crash Bandicoot, learned about the studio, followed the studio's next game, while all the time knowing that PlayStation was behind them, those people just don't care anymore. They just want to purchase whatever has the most stuff on it. And for me, and probably Colin Moriarty, who sees this as hollow, and he mentioned that word hollow to Destin, and Destin seemed a little like, perplexed by that. Like, what do you mean? And he even brought up the idea that Microsoft helped foster some of Bethesda's games in the past, and that is exactly right. That's why this idea is very simple for me, and many other people, curiously, who are a bit older can see it, but that's where I feel like maybe this consolidation stuff is headed for a really bad place, because most people who are younger, who are playing video games, they simply just don't care about that. They don't see the value in a company that fosters creativity or takes risks, or says to somebody, I love your idea, let's see where we can go with that. They just like the person with the most stuff, who has the biggest ass, and that's the one that gets the most attention. And then when you factor in social media, which is incredibly disingenuous, and the idea that it's telling anybody the truth around this topic or any topic is insane to me. When you factor all that in, I feel like people like myself who say they don't like this idea of buying everything versus actually creating something. And I say this because those emails really, at least for me, shocked me when I read Phil Spencer, and just the arrogance and the hubris and the ideas that he can just purchase things rather than create them. And then, of course, his crowning achievement in his career isn't fostering creativity or adding something to the industry, right? Being additive. It's about subtracting. It's about what can I purchase? What would look good? A crowning achievement would be to purchase Nintendo. I just don't feel that's a great, I keep using the word ethos. I don't feel that's a great ethos to get behind when it comes to a product that you're buying for enjoyment. I want to buy a product that I know is going to continually supply me with content that's great, content that takes risks, creative risks. And you get that when you think about other companies and what they've done versus what Microsoft seemingly wants to do and is doing right now. But most people don't think like that. Most people don't care, and that's where I feel like, unfortunately, these acquisitions are going to continue to happen, because there aren't enough people that really care enough about this idea that creativity should be something that you champion, as opposed to just using boatloads of cash that you acquired over the years from a stolen OS to sort of buy other industries because it's your job to make money for shareholders. I feel like creativity should be first and foremost, and it isn't. And the idea of community is insane to me, because there aren't any communities on social media. Xbox, PlayStation communities are just people who all agree with themselves and other people coming in to yell at them. That's not a community. And that is, again, a way to sum up this video. And that is that all of these communities that really don't care about anything other than who's got the most likes, who's got the most views, who's on what show, essentially who has the biggest ass. They don't care about who has the most creativity, who is likely to foster the most creativity going forward in the industry. All they care about is who has the most. Insert game here, insert follows here, insert likes here, insert studios here. And that is the biggest problem going forward. Let me know what you think, though, about these leaks. Again, I'm talking about them again because I just was blown away by what was said about purchasing studios and the crowning achievement of a career being buying stuff versus actually contributing to the industry that you're in. Again, strange to me, but I really don't think most people care, and that's sad to me that most people really just don't even think about those ideas behind acquiring things that have already taken all that risk and done all that work, and then somehow expecting everybody in the industry to think of you when they think of those games, even though you've had nothing to do with them, versus actually contributing over the years and building up a library of content that is your own, that you put your blood, sweat, and tears into. Thanks for watching the video. Think about liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.